Welcome to the exciting world of Algebra 1-2. Today we begin with your first lesson of the year. Order of operations is something you have had experience with prior to this year. However, we do need to make sure everybody is on the same page before we get going this year. I'd like you to write across the top line of your notes the title 1.1 Order of Operations. Just below it, I'd like you to write the word objective, and then the statement below is what you should be able to say with confidence by the time the lesson is over. Today's objective is I will be able to use the order of operations when evaluating real number expressions. Take a moment to pause the video if you need until you have it written down. When you're ready, continue on. The next line you would write warm up and underline it so that it stands out in your notes. I would like you to write down these 5 problems, go ahead and solve them, and then come back and check your answer. How did you do? Go ahead and check the 5 answers, and as you will hear throughout this entire year, anytime you make a mistake, that is an amazing opportunity to learn from it. So take a moment, pause the video, and make any corrections that you need to. When you added for number 1, did you see that those were 2 negative numbers? When we have 2 numbers that are the same sign, we keep the sign because altogether there are 7 negatives that are being added. Number 2 says negative 11 minus 12. That really is the number negative 11 and the number negative 12. Together, there are negative 23. There are 23 negatives. The next problem below is a multiplication problem. There is no multiplication sign, but when 2 numbers sit next to each other with no symbol in between, that implies you're going to multiply. 4 times 15 is 60. The signs are different. One is positive, one is negative, so the answer is negative 60. Number 4 would be one of the most common mistakes I predict. 8 minus a negative 1. Anytime we have minus, that means take the opposite of. So we take the opposite of a negative 1, which means add a positive 1. 8 plus 1 is 9. And the final question was negative 99 divided by 11. The signs are different, so it is negative, and 99 divided by 11 is negative 9. Please take a moment and make any corrections that you need. When you're ready, move on to the next slide. Okay, these are the basic notes that I need you to write down for the order of operations. Many of you have heard this called Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. Some of you have had teachers in the past that call it PEMDAS. I like to call it order of operations. It is the list that helps you decide what order of your operations to perform. I'd like you to list parentheses, and then right next to it, I'd like you to write examples of parentheses or brackets, and you go from the inside most to the outside if there's more than one pair. Next to exponents, I'd like you to write an example. 2 to the 3rd power would be an exponent problem to work on. That would mean we have the number 2 3 times. 2 times 2 times 2, which would be 8. Once you have eliminated all the parentheses and the exponents, you next learn for multiplying and dividing. It does not matter what order they're in. You go from left to right. You do not simply do multiplying first just because M came before D. You go from left to right. Once you have applied all your multiplying and dividing symbols, you move on to adding and subtracting. Whichever one comes first, left to right. Take a moment to get those notes down. That's the basic notes for today, and then we're going to start practicing. When you are ready, move on to the next slide. I'd like you to write down both of these methods. That means you're going to need to pause the video, write down method 1 and exactly what you see in blue, and then method 2 next to it, which is in the dark purple. Once you have written both, I would like you to answer which one is correct. When you've made a decision, unpause the video and see if you were correct. Did you come up with method 1? Method 1 saw that multiplication would come before adding. 5 times 35 is 175. Now we add the 16 to get to 191. Can you tell what the person did incorrect over here on method 2? A very common mistake is students just want to go left to right because that's how we read, left to right. However, if you add 16 plus 5 and get 21 times 35 is a very different answer, 735. So please be careful and look for your multiplication first, then do your adding and subtracting. When you have that down on your notes, take a moment and move to the next slide. I would like you to take a moment, write down these two problems under examples on your notes, solve them, show your work one step per line, pause the video until you are done. When you're done, unpause it and see how you did. So let's take a moment and check your work and see how you did. On number 1, you do see there's two sets of parentheses here and here, but we do not count those as parentheses because inside the parentheses there's no problem to solve. It is just the integer -3. This is just the integer -1. There are technically no parentheses in this problem for us to solve first. Then we look for exponents. You will notice right here we have the base -3 to the second power. That means there are two -3s. -3 times -3 is a positive 9. Please notice I rewrote the 2. I rewrote the 9 in parentheses, and then I rewrote the rest of the problem. I am only doing one step per line. Now that I look at my red line, I will notice there's multiply here, adding, multiply here, and subtracting. Well, I know after parentheses and exponents, I look for multiplying and dividing. So you'll notice in the blue line, I did my multiplication. 2 times 9 is 18. 9 times -1 is -9. You may choose to write it as 18 plus -9, but we will get proficient this year at simplifying our signs and only writing -9. For right now, I'm okay with plus -9. Now we have 8 plus -9, which is 9, and then rewrite the -11. Did you make it to the correct answer that 9 minus 11 is -2? If you made any mistakes, please take a moment, pause the video, erase and correct your notes. Your notes are to be an accurate record of what you are learning. Take a moment now and let's look at number 2. Again, do we have any parentheses here? These do not count because there's not an actual problem in it. So next we look for exponents. Yes, we have it right here. 5 to the 4th power means there are 4 5s. 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. That is 625. We have -8 times -3 that I rewrote. Didn't touch it because I just did my exponents first. Now I have a subtracting and a multiplying. We're going to do multiplying next. So -8 times -3 is a positive 24. 24 plus 625. Did you make it to the correct answer of 649? Again, if you made a mistake, not a big deal. Take a moment, pause the video, correct it, and move on when you're ready. Here are the next two examples. You got a little sneak preview of those answers. Take a moment, look at number 3 and 4, write them down, show your work, unpause the video when you're ready to check your answers. So coming back, how did you do? On number 3, did you see that there's really no parentheses, even though these are here, there's no problem inside them to solve. So after parentheses, we look for exponents. If I have two -4s, that's -4 to the second power. A -4 times a -4 is a positive 16. I rewrote everything else, did not try and solve anything else. I then looked, I have adding, I have multiplying, and I have multiplying. So we're going to go ahead and multiply. -1 times 2 is -2. I rewrote the 16 and the -3. Now I'm going to do the other multiplying. -2 times -3 is positive 6. Plus that 16, did you make it to the correct answer of 22? If there's any mistakes, take a moment and check your work and make any corrections needed. Number 4 is a little different in a fraction, but we still use the same order of operations. We just treat the numerator on top as its own order of operations and the bottom denominator as its own. On top, there's no parentheses, but we do have exponents. Two -7s, -7 times -7 is positive 49. I rewrote the +5 and I rewrote the -9. Now I stay on top with my numerator. 49 plus 5 is 54. I rewrote that over -9. 54 divided by -9 is a -6. Did you make it to the correct answer? Again, if there's any mistakes, please correct them because I would like your notes to be an accurate record. Once you have your notes complete, you are done with this set of notes. You will be receiving this homework assignment in class, but please do not get started right away. Make sure which problems you are actually assigned. If you have any questions, you can rewatch the video as many times as you need and then come in class prepared with questions to be answered. Have a great day.